those of you who don't know Alex, he is a guitar player and he is both a touring musician as well as a studio musician and a producer from Australia and now based in Nashville. So welcome, Alex, to the show.
Hey, Chloe, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Very welcome. And what we're going to do first is we're going to jump into our hot seat round, which we do each time. And so
Sure.
this, we're going to just ask a couple questions and answer in about 10, 20 seconds as quickly as you can. And this is for people watching to get to know you a little better.
Yes.
And my first question is a bit of hopefully an easy one, and that is, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food, that is overwhelming. It's too many choices. I'm going to pick my wife's steak pie. That was my mother's recipe before that. I'm going to pick that. I don't know why. It's just that it's Sunday here in the US at the moment, and that's always that's our special treat on Sunday nights.
Nice. Yeah, well, that makes my mouth water. I love a good steak pie. And my second question for you is, what is one of your favorite holiday memories?
Holiday memories. Okay. In 2012, I came to Nashville for the first time. That was my first holiday memory. It was I was coming over with a band I was playing with, and it was my two brothers and a very close friend. So my dad came and my wife Jess came at the time, and we played some gigs over here for the first time, but then just explored the US a lot as well. So it was my first trip to Nashville that was when I first started thinking about moving here and living here, because I love the place so much.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. And then on that, you just mentioned your wife, Jess. So could you tell us a little bit about how you guys met?
We both have differing opinions on when we met. It was in high school. I was in grade 10 and she would have been in grade 9. In my head, I met her, I was buying tickets for the school talent show and she was selling them in the door. And in her head, we met in the choir before. So there's a little bit of we can't agree.
Right. Thank you. And then the last question on that hot seat round is, what is one thing that you miss from Australia?
Lots of things. I miss lots of things from Australia, and it changes all the time. I'm thinking about food still. Iced vovos. I'm going to say iced vovos, which is a strange one, I know, but I do. Whenever someone comes to visit, that's what I get them to bring me.
Nice. So if I'm ever in Nashville, I'll make sure I bring a packet for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's a hot commodity.
Could you first share with us how you first became to love music and love the guitar?
The first memory of me thinking I wanted to play music, or at least discovering, feeling an emotion from music. I think I was 10 years old and I was in the car with my dad and he was showing me the record, The Wall by Pink Floyd. And there's a song on that called Comfortably Numb. And the last 2 minutes are like this wailing, screeching, mournful guitar solo that he showed me. And I thought, wow, how could an instrument, how could just sound make you feel a certain way? And from there, I was pretty much hooked. And then there was a kid across the road who started taking guitar lessons who I was friends with. And then I thought to myself, I wouldn't mind doing that too. And the rest is sort of history. Wow,
that's pretty cool. And so going on from that, how did you actually come to, I guess, make a career from it, where you are
now? It all just sort of started from, as long as I could remember, I remember thinking I wanted to play music and that be my job. But I played in bands all through high school, and then we started playing some gigs, and then I went to university to study music and doing a lot of the same thing, meeting people. I played in a band briefly that was on Australia's Got Talent and got to the finals and started meeting people, started touring a lot more, doing the occasional session thing, so playing in studios with people as well. And it just sort of snowballed, met more people, grew my circle of friends, and yeah, just got really lucky along the way as well doing it.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the projects that you're working on at the moment?
At the moment?
Yeah, and some of the bands that you've been in as well.
Okay. In Australia, my high school band was called Dissonance, and it was just my two brothers and a close friend, but a different close friend from the other band I was telling you about before.
Right.
And then when I went to uni, I started playing in a country band. I had a friend who had, we were playing in a different band, a hard rock, like an 80s hard rock band before that. And he saw Keith Urban play, and he said to me, I reckon we could do that. Because to him, it just sounded like rock music with banjo in it. So we played together for a long time. That band was called We the Ghosts. We were really lucky. We got to tour Australia a fair bit, play a lot of the big festivals in Australia, the Gympie Muster, CMC Rocks, when it was down in the Hunter Valley. Then we toured opening for Icehouse for a long while. Yeah, and so we made a couple of records, got some got them played on the radio, which was really cool as well. From there, I played in too many other bands and doing corporate things as well. But at the moment, I'm living in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm playing for an artist named Jackson Caps. And I'm playing with him maybe 20 hours a week downtown on Lower Broadway, and then touring with him occasionally as well. You can find all his music on Spotify and YouTube as well. He's just about to release some new music. But and then I'm working on my own music as well. Hopefully trying to bring out a second EP later on this year.
Cool. And so for your own music, do you come under a different name, or do you go under Alex Tomlins?
I go by Alex James, which is my middle name. I'm not sure why I chose that and why I didn't go by Alex Tomlins, but at the time it seemed like a really good idea.
Cool. And then, so if people want to find your music, where could they go looking for it?
Find my music on Apple Music or on Spotify or iTunes as well.
What kind of genres do you feel like when you compose your own music?
Well, the music I'm releasing under Alex James, I guess I'm more influenced. There's a producer I really love named Jack Antonoff, who worked on Lord's second album as a producer. He worked on Taylor Swift's like last 3 records, and he was played guitar in a band called Fun that was around maybe 10 years ago. I'm really influenced by his production style, but then also bands, Talking Heads, I really like as well, that I listen to a lot, and bands like The Killers as well.
Alex, you're both a lead guitarist and backing vocals. You told us a little bit about how you started playing guitar, but how did you get into the vocal side?
Mostly it was because it made me more employable to be able to sing harmonies as well. If people have a choice of hiring a guitar player or a guitar player who can also sing harmonies, the person who can sing harmonies is going to get hired over. So it was, just job security more than anything. And from that, you start singing a couple of songs as well, and then, okay, I've been writing these songs. Instead of someone else singing them, I think I'd like to sing them. Yeah.
So does that mean that in all of your songs with your Alex James project, have you sung all of them yourself?
Yes. Yeah. That was me singing on all of them, which is a very strange, icky experience. I'm working on my second EP at the moment at home while we're in isolation, and it feels very sort of unhealthy to like go through and edit your own voice and like listen to you singing the same word over and over and over and over. As I was doing it, I started even like making fun of the vowel sounds I would make with my voice. I'm like, this sounds dumb. But no one else is going to think that. Yeah.
Well, then going off the isolation thing, so can you tell us a little bit about how you've had to make some changes now that you're in isolation?
Of course. Well, in isolation, I first and foremost, I used to work downtown in Lower Broadway, where I'd play live in bands for 40 hours every week, which looking back on videos now, it feels very strange to see so many people in a room together. I'm like, this doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem right. So locking myself at home, being a live musician, it's really been about trying to put myself into the studio and try and use this time to sort of pursue, number one, mobile sessions, which has been great. I've had done sessions for people from my own house, which has been really good. And then working on my own music as well. And then trying to build social media content, for the gram.
Mm.
which hasn't been as productive, but it's hard because yeah, you feel like you should be using this time so productively because you might not ever have I might never have an opportunity like this again to work so hard at it. I kept having to tell myself as well, be kind to yourself. This is a strange time. It's okay to do the 10 jigsaw puzzles I've done so far while being locked in my house, and live streaming. That's the other thing I've been doing at this time, live streams with different musicians. On the Tootsie's Facebook page. Usually once or twice a week, we're doing a live stream there, which has been great. And even taking tips via Venmo. So people will request a song that they want you to play, and they'll tip via Venmo or PayPal.
And then now that you've shared that you're based in Nashville and this is kind of where you are living your life at the moment, can you tell us how you actually made that transition from Australia to Nashville and maybe some of the challenges that you face moving to a new country?
Sure. Okay, so I was very keen to move here. And when my wife and I decided we were going to move here, it was a very long visa process. I came here under an O1 visa, which is, it's very strange, and I sound very cocky. It's an alien of extraordinary ability visa, which is a bit weird, but so it was a lot of paperwork and then an interview as well. I'd met someone who worked downtown and was in charge of the bookings here at Broadway, who told me whenever I wanted to move here, I could have a job, which was great. So yeah, the visa thing took maybe 12 months to do. And I remember when we finally got on the plane to move here, it sort of the fear sat in just as the plane was taking off. I was like, what am I doing? I'm moving to the other side of the world where I know 2 people and I don't have a house. I don't have a car. It was also the first time I'd lived out of home as well. So it was a lot of growing up in a very short period of time. We were packing our bags frantically before leaving for the airport in the morning, and we hadn't rented accommodation yet for the next night in America. So we looked up an extended stay in America. Then when I moved here, the next probably biggest challenge was because playing downtown on Lower Broadway, that it's mostly request based. So people, like we say down there, it's $20 to request a song, which seems crazy. That seems like a lot of money, but it's 4 people or 5 people making it up on the spot as they kind of go. So learning a lot of songs as well. I think in the first 2 months I moved here, I learned maybe 500 songs, I think, in those first 2 months. It was a huge learning curve. I have a playlist on my phone called Apple Music called I Suck at Guitar, and it was just got longer and longer and longer and longer. And every time I played, I'd write down all the songs that were requested that I didn't know so I could go home and learn them. And sometimes it would be 10 to 15 songs. And then as time went on, that list slowly got shorter and shorter and shorter. And even now, occasionally you can get stumped. It's fun. It never ends.
When you have a song that's requested, if you don't know it, do you just play it? Like you just make it up, you play by ear, or do you say, oh, sorry, we'll do it next time? What do you kind of say to that?
So usually, like, I play in a band with 5 other people, and if one person has heard it, we're going to give it a go. We're going to try, because hopefully they'll be able to guide the others through it. There's a thing called the Nashville number system, which makes it a lot easier to sort of share chord changes and things like that in songs. So in a standard key, there's usually 7 different chords you could play. So if you're in the key of C, for example, the chords would be C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B minor flat 5 would be the 7. And you assign each of those chords a number, essentially. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so it makes it a lot easier if you're playing a song and you don't know what chord's coming up, and say the bass player does, they can go like this. So you know, okay, the chords, if we're in the key of C, it's a G chord. So you can follow along like that, which makes it easier, I guess. But so if one person's heard it, we'll give it a try. And we have 2 singers in most bands. So we have a male and a female singer. So if it's a female song, she'll leave the stage and listen to it on her phone for a song, and then we'll come up and try it to varying success. very big success.
Have you ever had any experiences where it's kind of just fallen flat and you guys have given it your best shot and it's kind of just, yeah, flopped?
Yes, yeah, that's happened before, definitely. We had a request for a Def Leppard song, and I got the singer asked me if I knew it, and I sort of knew it. I could probably fake my way through it, and then they left the stage. They thought when they asked that, they were asking me if I knew how to sing it,
Right.
which I did not know how to sing it, but we tried, and we always say nobody died, so it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
The one thing I try to tell myself is if I ever have to do something like that is, it's just 4 minutes. Just get through these 4 minutes and then you can move on.
Exactly. And just own it. Whatever you're doing, if you own it, people they'll think, they might think that's a bit strange, but if you do it confidently, they'll be like, okay, it must be right. They did it so confidently.
What have been some of the sacrifices you've had to make to get to where you are today?
Number one, I guess it's a fairly shallow one, but you find your social when you have free time, that pretty much is the opposite of when most people who are not musicians have free time. So you on opposite schedule. I find at least as well, you're often away a lot from the people you love, especially touring. You never home, especially on the weekends again. But I don't know. I love my job, so maybe I don't try and think about them too much. But yeah, I would say they're the big two ones.
What would you say are some of the highlights of your career so far?
One of the big highlights I would say is that I got to move here and I got to play music and support my family playing music. That would probably be the biggest highlight for me at the moment. When I moved here, I wasn't sure how I'd be able to make a living supporting my family, and the fact that I've gotten to do that, I would say that's the biggest success or highlight in my career, that all I'm doing is playing guitar and making music, which is something I've wanted to do since I was a kid, and I get to do that, and I get to support my family doing it as well. I would say that's the biggest success or highlight for me.
So Alex, what do you love about playing guitar that you can't experience or haven't experienced anywhere else?
What do I love about playing guitar that I haven't experienced anywhere else? I think music in general, the more I'm learning or thinking about it and the more I get to play it, is like, it's a really weird, strange form of like group telepathy, that you're playing with a bunch of people who come from a bunch of different walks of life, and you're all coming together and you're trying to make something, and you're all working together for this shared goal. Everyone who is on stage or in the studio is working towards making this thing as good as it could be. And sometimes that means they're not the one that's the star, they just have a small role in it, or sometimes they play a really big part. But the fact that you can all work together, and sometimes when it comes off that you're all doing something together and you didn't talk about it beforehand and it just sort of happened and there it is, and you're like, how get out of my head.
You're already living your dream and you're already doing what you love. But if I could say in 5 years' time, you would be even further. You'd be even further into your dream. Can you kind of see what that would look like?
What I would like to do next is I would like to play guitar for a big artist. That's sort of why I moved to Nashville in the first place, because to get those sort of gigs, you need to be in a town where those people are and where they're hiring those musicians. After that, I think I'd like to do more session work as well. I'd like to play a lot more in the biggest studios here in town and do some of those A-class sessions as well one day. But just pretty much just keep pursuing my craft, like the craft of playing a musical instrument. It's one that sort of never ends, and the benchmark always gets pushed further and further back as you improve. I remember being a teenager sitting in my room and going, if I could just play this, I would be happy. And then you get to that and you go, oh, that's easy. Now I wish I could just do this. Or now I wish. So yeah, just constantly pursuing the craft as well. In any job, there are hard days, but at the end of the day, all I do is I mess around on my guitar with my friends. So I feel very lucky that I get to do that.
Well, we might wrap it up there, Alex, and thank you so much for yeah, the time that you've given us today and for blessing us with your skills and for sharing some of your story with us. It's been great to know you a bit more as the person behind the stage. Yeah,
Thank you for having me. It was great to chat about it all as well. Thank you.
you're very welcome.
It's weird talking about yourself for so long. I'm like, oh, I should be asking questions. I should be asking questions, not just talking about myself. Because it's super weird when they do it. I've only been there once to watch, but like it started off as a radio show,
Hmm.
and it still is a radio show now when they record it. So when
Right,
they're changing bands and things like that, the curtain will go down and a man will read ads.
right.
Like this segment of the Grand Old Opry is sponsored by Dollar General, and like do like a weird old timey ads, which is kind of cool to see as well.